Area police have been kept busy over the last few days. We'll have more, plus more from this week's Huntingburg Chamber Luncheon and veteran broadcaster Paul Page, and WBDC Cornhole Coordinator Kelly Johnson is tonight's guest on Inform. All of that and much more is up next here on the 18 WJTS News. Hello, I'm Bradford Raths. We begin tonight with an update on the investigation into a father versus son dispute in Shoals that turned deadly earlier this week. Martin County Prosecutor Mike Steiner says paperwork was filed earlier in the week in support of murder charges against 60-year-old John Bruce Tao of Shoals, though no formal charge of murder has been filed. Tao was arrested Sunday night after state police and Martin County deputies responded to a residence along Doan Lane in Shoals and found Tao's son, 32-year-old Jonathan Tao, with stab wounds to his neck, injuries that he later died from. Authorities say the dispute between the two had gone on all day prior to the stabbing. John Bruce Tao was initially charged with criminal recklessness with a deadly weapon. Steiner says the case is now being treated as a homicide after Jonathan Tao's autopsy was conducted. Again, Steiner says the paperwork has been filed in support of a murder charge, but no formal murder charges have been filed against Tao as of news time this evening. Steiner says a decision on the formal filing of the charges is expected to come in the near future. A Knox County woman was taken into custody after authorities say she stole a car from a Huntingburg residence. Just after 4:05 yesterday morning, Huntingburg police were told that 35-year-old Christina Common of Monroe City had stolen a vehicle from a residence in the 500 block of North Chestnut Street. Police were told that the vehicle, which belonged to Kenneth Ferguson and Michelle Kirk, was taken overnight and had not been returned to the residence. Police took a report and passed the information around to neighboring departments at that point. At about 3:35 yesterday afternoon, Huntingburg police received word that Common was on her way back to the residence with the stolen vehicle. Police then located the vehicle near the residence and pulled it over in the driveway. Common was then taken into custody and lodged in the DuBois County Security Center on auto theft charges. One of the remaining suspects in the December shooting of a Washington teen has pleaded guilty. 19-year-old Heaven Berry entered the plea yesterday in Davies Superior Court. She is facing up to 8 years in prison on a Class C felony for assisting a criminal. Berry is the cousin of 18-year-old Logan Evans, who is serving 45 years in prison for shooting 17-year-old Devin Burris during an attempted drug deal. Court records say that Berry found out about the shooting on Facebook and messaged Evans to have him come stay at her apartment. After Evans arrived, Berry then texted friends to get both her and Evans out of Washington, even offering to pay one of them to allow her and Evans to stay with them. Police say the text messages are what caused them to go to Berry's apartment. Though they went to the apartment on multiple occasions, authorities have not said whether or not they were allowed into the apartment to search for Evans. Berry and Evans wound up turning themselves in the next day. Police say Burris and 29-year-old Donald Cruckton had tried to rob both Evans and his friend, 19-year-old Lucas Benjamin, prior to the shooting. Benjamin is serving 30 years in prison for his role. Cruckton is still awaiting trial for his charges. A fourth man, 28-year-old Craig Street, was sentenced last month. He is currently serving 2 years in the State Department of Corrections and will also serve 10 years of work release and 3 years of home detention. He will be on probation for 15 years once he is released. The sentencing for Berry is scheduled for July 7th. Now to a crime story that you may not hear every day. 4 people, including 2 from our area, have been arrested thus far as part of an ongoing project with a Petersburg police officer posing online as a teenage girl. Police say 3 of the 4 men traveled to Petersburg to make contact with someone they believed to be a 14-year-old girl. Instead, they were taken into custody after the girl turned out to be Petersburg Police Sergeant Chad McClellan. 45-year-old Brian Higgins of Shoals and 51-year-old Leonard Paul Carter of Marengo, along with 28-year-old Torrey Belts III of Lawrenceville, Illinois, were arrested after they each went to Petersburg in late April and early May to meet the decoy. 28-year-old Stephen Bauer of Cincinnati was later arrested in Kentucky by U.S. Marshals after he sent explicit videos of himself to McClellan and a second person acting as a decoy. All 4 men are charged with Class C felonies for child solicitation. Those carry a 2 to 8 year prison sentence. Meanwhile, McClellan, who is a 15-year veteran of the Petersburg Department, says the idea to pose online came about after doing research and talking with police officers in other areas. McClellan says it was good to be able to arrest some of the bad guys before they could hurt a child. In the end, authorities are once again urging parents to keep a close eye on what their children look at on the internet and who they are texting. They are hopeful that these arrests send a loud and clear message to anyone who may try to contact a younger child. In other news this evening, the first of 3 bond issues for development on the east side of Washington has now been approved. The Daviess County Council approved an ordinance for a $2.1 million bond issue for Grain Processing Corporation. This bond issue was designed to clean up misunderstandings that surround a tax abatement for business personal property issued to the company back in 1999. GPC originally thought the abatement covered all additional equipment it added over the 10-year time frame of the abatement, when in fact, the abatement was for 10 years on the equipment that was added during the abatement time frame. All of the bonds are set to be paid off through money collected in the GPC Tax Increment Finance, or TIF district. That will amount to a lump sum of what the company paid in taxes for the equipment bought during the abatement time frame. The taxes that are recovered from the TIF district then go towards paying back the county. The Daviess County Redevelopment and Economic Commissions both passed resolutions on the bonds last month. In total, the 3 bond issues will cover $13 million in development projects for Washington's east side. Now, the second and third bond issues are set to come from the city of Washington. The second one will be for $4.5 million and will be used for infrastructure on the east side of the city. Projects include a new sidetrack for trains, upgraded roads and utilities, and a new bridge. The third bond issue would be for $6.7 million, and that will go into building a warehouse. The DuBois County Visitors Center and Tourism Commission is now accepting applications for grants from the Tourism Promotion Fund. Grant applications are open to not-for-profit tourism-related organizations, festivals, events, attractions, and others that will increase visitor attendance from outside of our area. Approved applications for projects or events that have previously been funded may receive new grant money if additional tourism benefits can be proven. Special consideration will be given to organizations establishing first-time events. To request an application, you can call the DuBois County Visitor Center at 482-9115. Completed applications must be received no later than July 15th to be considered for funding. For additional information on tourism in the area, you can go to visitduboiscounty.com, call them, or you can stop by their office along Newton Street in Jasper, adjacent to the DuBois County Museum. Finally this evening, racing fans across the area got the chance to hear the unique perspective of veteran motorsports broadcaster Paul Page earlier this week. Page spoke during Tuesday's Huntingburg Chamber of Commerce annual luncheon. Page serves as the chief announcer on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway radio network and is also the lead broadcaster for other races on the IndyCar schedule this year. This marks the second stint that Page has served as chief announcer for IMS Radio. He previously held that title from 1977 through to 1987. He returned to the role this year after being a color commentator from 2009 through last year. Page says having the opportunity to be the lead announcer for the Indy 500 is something he always wanted to do.
It's absolutely a dream come true. I was born in Evansville, and we moved out right away, military family, but I always listened to the Indy 500. In fact, when we were stationed in Stuttgart, Germany, in the 50s, that was my connection with home, with Indianapolis, and I'd lived there 2 or 3 times as my father went to different assignments.
Page says he came to Indianapolis after his time in school. He was determined to become part of the race in some way, though he didn't necessarily think it would be through radio. Page originally began his time with the IMS radio network in 1974 as a pit reporter before he became chief announcer. He replaced longtime announcer Sid Collins once Collins passed away. Page says the people who come to the races at IMS are the thing that makes his job so rewarding.
I love the fans, and a lot of people a lot of the drivers and everything, because they're so busy, they move quickly and they don't have as much time for the fans. Generally, I do. So I'll always, for example, rather than walk down the pitch to get to the garage area from the pagoda, I always go behind it because it gives me a chance to talk to people. I always set out time to do it and to hear what the fans are talking about and what they're excited about, and I'm excited about the same things. That's the best part.
Among the highlights of Page's time as chief announcer include calling the 4th Indy 500 wins for both A.J. Foyt and Al Unser, and Danny Sullivan's famous spin and win in 1985. In the end, Page says he can't see himself doing anything else over the next several years.
Back as the voice of the 500, a title that they gave me, by the way. I didn't give myself, so that was kind of nice too. And doing the series, so I'm on the road quite a bit. and I'm hoping that's what I do for the next several years. I'm really excited about being around for the 100th race, which is in 2016.
Page's broadcasting career has also included roles in television. He served as the lead announcer for NBC and ABC and ESPN's coverage of both the kart and IndyCar series from 1979 through to 2004. He was also the lead announcer for ESPN2's coverage of NHRA drag racing, a role he served in between 2006 and 2012. All right, coming up after the break, your local forecast, sports with Kurt Guxell, and Inform with Kelly Johnson. That's all up next here on the 18 WJTS News. Local people watching local people.